Hi, I'm Jeff and this is Tropical Plants at 53 degrees north, and today it is a very, I don't know if you can hear it, it's a very windy, blustery, cold, wet day, but we're in the greenhouse. It's nice and warm in here. It's currently 17 degrees Celsius. My heater is trying to keep it at 12, but because we've got different temperatures in different parts, I've got to up it to 17 to make sure that the coolest parts stay at 12, and the heater's just kicked on now. But today we're going to look at a group of plants called Tradescantia. I had to look that up, would you believe? I used to call it Tradescantia, but apparently it's Tradescantia. So yeah, we're going to have a look at these plants. I'm quite new to them in the greenhouse, but I did have quite a lot of dealings with them in gardens. There are temperate varieties, but before we get into it, I'm going to take you down off there and we shall flip you around and let's have a look at why I find these plants so useful for a tropical greenhouse, and what features of them in particular I'm most interested in. So let's just flip you around. And we're back. Okay, so we're going to try a slightly different camera position today, so let's see if this works. It doesn't look too bad from there, I think. I'm just trying to crane my net round to see it. No, I think we'll be alright. So Tradescantia, there's about 75 species of Tradescantia, and they're really a wild flower. I mean, you know, all the plants we have, if you trace them back far enough, come from a species plant that grows in the wild. But these plants, even though they've been crossed and hybridized, they do that quite commonly anyway. They do it naturally on their own, without any help from us, and so much so that some of you might be watching thinking, well, this is a weed, and you'd be correct. In certain places, in Australia and in New Zealand, this is indeed an invasive weed. So why do I want it in my greenhouse? Well, let's get a plant in front of you first of all. And before you kind of look at this thinking, well, that's a bit boring, it's a bit dull, wait till I've gone through them and let's just discuss, you know, why I want them in the greenhouse. So, tell you a little bit about them first and then we'll get back to that. So it has lots and lots of common names. One of the names is Spiderwort, Spider-lily, India paint. Another one is Oyster-plant. Wandering Jew is one that I came across quite a lot, which apparently refers to a Jew back in Jesus' time who apparently ridiculed Jesus when he was on the way to the cross, and forever then he was cursed to be wandering aimlessly around the countryside or around the wilderness in shame. That's the story behind the Wandering Jew. But I think it's also something to do with the fact that it's very, very easy to spread and propagate this plant, and that's one of the features that I find really, really useful. But first of all, let's have a look at this one. So this one is bog standard green, obviously, Tradescantia, I should say. What I particularly like about it, I don't know if the video can pick it up, is it has these like velvety looking leaves. There's like this sheen on these leaves. There's no leaf cleaner on these. They actually feel quite rough to the touch, but when you look at them, they just have this light just shines off them. This one was actually came through as a variegated one, and as a lot of you probably know, variegated plants do have a tendency to revert, and I cut off the bits that had reverted, and this is what we're left with. So I've got a couple of these, and what's particularly good about Tradescantia is that it grows very, very quickly, especially since I got the grow lights, and it has this like trailing habit. So it's really useful to create like a jungly tropical rainforest effect, which is what I'm after. Yeah, I love flowers, and they do actually flower, which I'll come to in a second. But what I'm most in particular concerned about here is that I can very quickly begin to fill the greenhouse round the outsides, obviously not the external bits, round the outsides of the internal roof. I can fill it with trailing plants with these kind of leaves, these nice shiny leaves. It doesn't go too big. They only tend to go 30-60 centimetres in length. They're very, very easy to prune. You can make it bushier by just pinching out these leaf tips if you want to bush the plant up a little bit. And they will hopefully give me that very quick, very cheap tropical rainforest look without me having to spend a lot of money. I've got lots more of these Tradescantia to show you, and I'll tell you at the end how much it's cost me for these. These two cost me nothing because these came from one of the other plants that I got that had reverted. So these are the green ones. You can buy these online quite cheaply, and these particular ones I'm hanging up on the back gable end, and I do intend at some point to take a few more cuttings of these and spread them about. These aren't my favourites because they are green, they are a little bit boring compared to the others, but they will flower. Tradescantia can flower in all sorts of different colours. The main ones are blue, red, white, purple and pink. It remains to be seen what colours these are, but I've not really got them for the flowers. I was mentioning before that there are temperate ones. They come from areas around, well, known as the New World. I think we all know what we're talking about when we say the New World, but obviously there's nothing new about it. But places like North and South America, and they can be found now all over the world, but they mainly originate from North and South America. The ones that you find in other places have been taken over there, and in some cases they have got invasive. In Australia and New Zealand, they're seen as an invasive weed, especially amongst crops. But you know, their loss is our gain, because for me they have all the hallmarks and all the features of a plant that will do just right. You know what they say about a weed being a plant in the wrong place. They have this quite nice, I'll just see if I can get under there, like the underside of the leaf is really quite nice. Can you see the purple effect there? So when they're hanging, which is what I'm going to do with these, you can see this purple as well. They're very easy to snap off, so you've got to be careful, but they grow so quickly. So that's the green one. That's the one that's probably going to be the most vigorous. So I'll just get those out of the way and move on to one of the others. Now these are cuttings that I sent off for. There's, what have we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I actually paid for 5 cuttings and it cost me £4. That's it, £4 for 5 cuttings. And these were in the post for about 4 days. They looked very, they're in the dark. They weren't rooted cuttings, there had no roots on them. They were just basically cut off at a node and packaged up in the post and sent first class. With it being Christmas, they took a little bit longer and they were looking very worse for wear, but I didn't complain about it because I know how easily they root. Believe it or not, they were all flopped over and now they're at least holding themselves up. So these will very, very quickly root inside this pot and start to take off. This one is Tradescantia Zebrina. And these have been in here now. Let me see, what day are we now? 4 days. These have been in here and they're already popping up. I can imagine there are already some roots under there. When you take cuttings of Tradescantia, you don't need to cut them just below a leaf node like you normally do with cuttings, to root cuttings, because they will grow roots. Any bit of this stem that touches the soil will grow a root, so you can be very, very lax and loose with it. You can even just pop them in a little glass of water and they will root. I found that they root quicker because I actually tried this. I tested it with water and with some, I actually just stuck them in some vermiculite and they rooted much quicker in the vermiculite. But even the water, it took about a week for them to root, so it's not really a lot to wait. So you've got this nice variegated foliage, and underneath you've got like a really deep purple colour. which again, once they're hanging down from somewhere, can look quite attractive. The flowers you get, I'll see if I can pop an image up on screen. I've said the colours that they can come in, but they're like like 3 petals. I'm trying to think of the word for it, but like a triangle of flowers really, but you'll see from the image. So that's Zebrina, so that's going to start romping away soon, like I said, especially with my new grow lights. So I'm going to get some of them trailing around the greenhouse. So that's that one. More cuttings that I sent off for. This one is Tradescantia Fluminensis. I don't know if you can see that there. Maiden's Blush, the mind boggles. So the nice thing about these, again, you can see the variegation, and they've got these nice kind of a pinky blush to them. Again, completely unrooted cuttings. They've been in there since 3 days, those have been in there for. So I can already see that they've popped up, they've begun to show some rigidity to them, and they too will be able to go around the greenhouse. Now, one of the beautiful things about this is that once I've got these established, which really won't take long, you know, a couple of weeks and they'll be romping away, I can then take more cuttings because they're so easy. So your initial outlay of, I can't remember what these were, I think these were a £5. The Zebrina were £4, these were a £5. We've said the 2 green ones were free. So yeah, once these get up and running, then I'm going to take some more of these. These look really nice en masse when you get like a large plant of it. They're great for house plants. They're really not fussy. They're not that bothered about humidity or the temperature. Obviously these ones, all the ones I've got are tropical ones, so they don't like frost. But I've found that as soon as I got the grow lights, they really did start to romp away much quicker than they had previously. So they do like light. Again, I would say, as we always say, don't stick them in direct sunlight, because nothing likes being in direct sunlight, it appears, certainly behind glass anyway. So right, that's the Maiden's Blush one, so that's that one. I'll just move that one out of the way. Moving along a bit. So this one is Purpurea, Tradescantia Purpurea, and this one I got it yesterday. This one cost me £4, and that was including delivery, but the delivery, because it was so cheap, they used Hermes, I believe, which not the best. I know it's Christmas, but it was sent first class, and it was actually in the post for a whole 7 days. So this was completely wrapped up in the dark, probably in the cold somewhere, for 7 days, and already it's looking okay. It did have a couple of little roots on the bottom, so that was in a better position. They're so tough. I mean, it's hard to think this is the same kind of plant, but it is. This one will make a bigger specimen, you can tell by the leaves. They're so variable. I mean, I wouldn't mind, you know, a specimen of all the different ones, and they're so cheap. And once you've got one plant, you've got as many as you want. Then they're easy to deal with. You know, it's not like, certainly here anyway, they're not going to escape into the garden because the frost will kill them. So yeah, that's Purpurea. So I'll just move that one out of the way. And then these are Tradescantia, and I've shown these before, Tradescantia Red Jewel. So these were 2 cuttings. They were actually, I sent off for 4 cuttings of Red Jewel. And there it is. You can see that, Tradescantia Red Jewel. And when it came, there were a couple of the stems that had fallen off in transport and transit, and these are the resulting plants. They're actually bigger than the original parent plant. But I've not pinched out any of these. This is why they're beginning to trail, and this is what I want. because these are going to again these are going to go up somewhere to trail down. I mean, just look at the foliage there, and if you look underneath, again we've got that lovely purpley colour. Isn't that nice underneath? If you can look up at that and see that, then you're going to get much more of a jungly effect. You know, flowers are great, and I'm sure when they do flower they'll look nice, but for a tropical rainforest, which is the effect I'm after, you need foliage, and I think this is an ideal plant to do it with. The consistency of the stems is very similar to, if anybody's been used to growing tomato plants, you know, if I pinch that, it's very watery, it's quite gooey, and it's similar to a tomato plant in that you know, it'll root right the way up. If that goes into the soil, it will root all the way, and this is what you can do with tomato plants as well. But we're not talking about tomato plants, so I'll just get Red Jewel out of the way. Another couple that we've got here, still Tradescantia. These are Tradescantia Tricolor Minima, and these were cuttings that I planted in August. Now these were a bit slow to get going, and that's because I had them in the same pots as the Red Jewel, and obviously anything that's more variegated is going to be a bit slower. Now this one, you can see the variability in it. This is all one plant, and we've got this one that's pretty much no, I mean how it's managing I don't know, but no chlorophyll on it, and it's the same plant as this one that's got more of the, like the white pink, to these that's got less and less of the pink, to this one that's got just green on it, all on the same plant, which I think is really nice. I think that's a nice variation in one plant. I'm going to have to be careful that doesn't take over though, the green bit, but it doesn't seem to be any more vigorous than any of the others at the moment. That exactly the same plant, same hybrid of plant. So yeah, that's Tradescantia Tricolor Minima. So that's another one that I'm going to take some cuttings from. Just get that one out of the way. Oh, just before we finish on that one, again look at the underside, the leaves, we've got like a different kind of a purple under there, purple and green mixture, and then another one again on these paler white ones. So the last one I've got to show, it's another Red Jewel actually, but this was the original one. This is the first one I got. Like I said, this one has stayed quite compact because I took some cuttings from it, and I'm going to hang this one up. I've just rigged up one of these, you know, bits of wire just so I can hang it up. So this one's already begun to trail down on this side, but it's bushed out on all the other sides because we pinched out some of the end tips there. So yeah, I'm going to put that one up. I'm going to put it up near the Hoya, and then hopefully we'll have lots and lots of beautiful foliage, and we'll get more of a jungly tropical rainforest effect in a short time, relatively short time. Let's see, anything else I've not mentioned? So I've said flowers 3 petals. We've said that they are, oh yeah, I didn't mention that come from North and South America, but they were discovered to Europe in the 17th century by father and son team. There was John Tradescant the elder and John Tradescant, unsurprisingly, the younger, and that was in 1629 they were introduced to the UK and then the rest of Europe, so much so that now you can find them all over the place, especially in places that don't get frost. What else have we not mentioned? They can bloom in summer for up to 6 weeks, but the flowers tend to only last about a day, but they do, you know, they're successional and they keep coming all the time. They like moist, well-drained soil. They're tolerant to most conditions really, apart from frost. They were used in North America by the Native Americans pardon me, for medicinal purposes. They made like an eye drop for them. They're quite good for you know, eye problems, I believe. I wouldn't try it, but I'm sure somebody who knows what they're doing might do. A few other medicinal purposes, which I can't remember. We've mentioned how easy they are to propagate. You know, just take a pinch, really. I mean, I just automatically do it above a node, below a node. I mean, you can already see, I mean, on this one, it's like it's trying to root already and it's not touching anything. It just shoots these roots out, little roots out, only tiny ones, but it's desperate to touch something. This is why they creep along and they're invasive, because they creep along the ground and wherever they touch, they root on the way, which is great for me in here. Not so great if you're growing a crop, if you're a farmer in Australia or New Zealand and you're trying to grow a crop. So yeah, they were introduced in 1629. Said what kind of conditions, medicinal purposes, said about the light, how you propagate. You can divide them as well. You can just, you know, tear them apart. And seeds, they grow from seeds too, quite easily. Feeding, do you really need to feed them? It says weekly, you know, feed them weekly about once a month in the growing season. Obviously, once they stop, if they stop growing in winter, then you don't feed them as water them as much. But I've noticed when they are growing, they do take quite a lot of water, so it's worth watering them quite a lot when they're in the growing season. And we've said, yeah, that there are temperate varieties as well, like herbaceous varieties that die down over over the winter time and then pop back up in the summer. So that's it, Tradescantia. So I shall just flip you round and show you my entire collection of Tradescantia, so bear with me. Okay, so that's the lot all together, and what I'm going to do here, and you can come with me as I do it, I'm going to hang this one from there next to the Hoya, and we have, these weren't watering actually, these ones are on a hook, so that one can go there. Oops, made the mistake of not looking through the camera. And the other one can go over here. Doing the same again, not looking through the camera. You know, why weren't we designed to have three hands? Think how much easier life would be. Okay, so we're going to give that a water too. So you can already see, I mean, I know they're only small, but you can already see they're beginning to add to the jungly effect. These others need a little bit more growth on them yet. This one, I think I'm going to make a hanger for this one. I'm going to hang this one somewhere, the same with the other one. I'll let them, I'm not going to pinch them out, I'm going to let them trail and see how far they trail. And I look forward to the rest of them. So yeah, that's it, Tradescantia. So if you enjoyed this little chat on Tradescantia Care, and you'd like to see a bit more on any of the other things in the greenhouse, I've had a request on ferns, so I'm going to do something on ferns, and I do intend dealing with my Streptocarpus. They're going to need some TLC in the forthcoming few days, and I've bought some special pots for them to pot them up. They were desperate for a pot up last year, the end of last season, so I'm going to do that. And there's my sweet sugar in full bloom now. I don't think you've seen that in full bloom. And the still looking good. The twinkle, you know, this was the first time actually that I've just had an orchid show, and it was the first time I could have taken about 5 plants. Could definitely have taken the Sharry Baby because there wasn't any Sharry Babies there. I could have taken the Brassia, the Burragira. Still think I'm pronouncing that wrong. I could have taken the Twinkle, Cinnamon Twinkle, and I could have taken the Sweet Sugar because I didn't see one of them either. maybe one day. Zygo, could have taken it, but I can't take any credit for that because it's quite new. And I could have taken the cyclamen too, except it wasn't a cyclamen show. So yeah, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I shall see you on the next one. Bye.